viewers, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. In this segment, we are happy to welcome on set Petal Daniel-Benoit, a minority councillor for the Tobago House of Assembly. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Julian.
And how are you doing this morning?
I am wonderful. It's good to be here this morning.
All right, great. So this morning we're chatting THA budget 2023-2024. Some know Petal in the context of her social work and so on, JCI and other organizations. Some know her now as the minority counselor. But yes, folks, she also has that financial background, working in the sector for a number of years. And therefore, Petal, I want to start with you from the perspective of gaining an understanding of what is, quote unquote, that ideal process of preparation going towards a budget. I know you formed part of what might have been that technical background and experience coming from the financial sector. What do you consider that ideal pathway in getting to the preparation of a budget before we even begin to discuss what would have been presented?
Thank you so much, Julian. So I would share my experience as a technical officer back in the Division of Finance. And generally speaking, the budget process will be triggered by what we call a call circular. And a call circular is basically instructions issued to divisions indicating to them that estimates are required, how they should prepare the estimates, a format, what basis upon the estimate should be. So be it Vision 2030, be it the vision for the Tobago House of Assembly, be it your overarching vision for your division. So there are line items, and each division will have particular line items based on the departments. So you prepare the estimates grounded on what your vision, your overarching vision is. And of course, you will have consultations with different sectors because you want your budget to be informed by the sectors. So whether it be agriculture sector, the tourism sector, you engage your stakeholders so that as far as possible, you have a wide consultation and your budget sort of touches on the requirements for most of the sectors as far as you see fit. So the budget is really your vision of the development for the island, and it must be grounded upon something. So when the divisions would have presented their estimates to the Division of Finance through the budget department, they will also look at all the divisions' estimates. And because the Division of Finance has the bird's eye view, then they will bring it down. Because, of course, every division will want their ideal estimate, but we have finite financial resources. So the Division of Finance, through the Budget Department, they will collate and they will determine, based on the overarching objective, what the estimates will look by division, line item by line item. And obviously your statement should then show an overarching vision, and then the secretaries in their debate, because if the chief secretary is to say everything that they would want to do, we will not have to stay there for probably several days. So the secretaries now will elaborate a little more, give an oversight of what they would have done with the resources that they were given for the particular financial year, and of course share what they intend to do with the resources that they would like for the upcoming financial year. So just summarizing what the process looked like.
So having heard the presentation this year coming from this current administration, second time around, your thoughts in relation to the request put forward to central government?
So my thoughts, the request seems quite unrealistic, taking in mind all that the THA would have received in the past. And why I say unrealistic, one, the peg upon which the national budget was made. So again, it's a 6.9% based on over $60 billion budget, national budget. And if you look to the national budgets, this administration, this PNM administration, since coming into office in 2015, their budgets has been declining. So 2015, we had a $64 billion budget. 2016, 63, 2017, 53, 2018, 50, 2019, 51, 2020, 53, 2021, 49. And the budgets have been reducing over time. So one, I don't think that the budget, based on the trend of this administration, this PNM central government, I don't think that the national budget may be at what it is pegged based on the budget. Additionally, we have been getting more to the lower end of the DRC resolution, and I don't think that what is requested will be based on the past trends.
So you're seeing an obvious situation where the revision of estimates is probably going to have to be the usual process, aggressively trying to adjust to meet what we actually receive?
Yes, because generally we will go back to the House in November because the budget is normally read at the end of September, beginning of October. So the next time that the THA has to return to do their reallocation will be in November. So yes, I anticipate that what we requested is not what we will get. And generally speaking, because remember, everybody is seeking a piece of this national pie. Everybody will want their ideal situation. But again, because the resources are finite, then everybody will not necessarily get what they want, but they will get what they need to take them through the financial year. So yes, I based on the trend, I do believe that we will have to go back to do the reallocation to an allocation that we will normally get somewhere around 2 billion, 2.3, 2.1, 2.4 billion dollars.
So we have seen where certainly the Chief Secretary, by way of his presentation, spoke extensively about a number of areas: infrastructure development, looking at community development, the tourism sector, etc. Do you think that these are realistic projections coming out from both his initial presentation as well as the follow-up discussions that have taken place and the debate that has taken place in the House?
No, I don't see some of the things as realistic. And I want to go back to his first budget statement last year. And one of the things that the minority would have pointed out from the onset last year is the unrealistic goal or objective of one of the divisions in particular, and that was housing. So last year, there was an aggressive objective to produce 1,000 service lots and over 700 housing units. We would have indicated, the budget statement also indicated that they will start their housing program planning sometime in the second quarter. So based on the breakdown, they were anticipating to have 250 houses in one financial year because the 1,000 was over their 4-year period. We said to them, we find that to be unrealistic, particularly that you have not started your housing planning program as yet. Additionally, where is the funding coming from? Because when you look at the estimates, the estimate was at variance with what the statement said. When we brought it up in our debate, the secretary indicated to us, watch him work. We would have looked on and we did not see this materializing of the 250 houses and the 750 or the unrealistic number. And again, what we have seen a similar occurrence coming back in this estimate. So they would have taken off a year and they would have reduced the housing units to something like 800 or housing lots to like 800. And they also reduced the houses to something like 600 or 750 like that. We are saying, again, it is unrealistic. One, where are you getting funding from to engage in the development? Two, is it realistic that you, based on your past trend, that you can actually do what you say that you would have done? So that is just an example of how unrealistic we find some of the things in the statement and also in the estimates. In terms of tourism, we are not seeing a roadmap for tourism. We are not, when the secretary came into office, the secretary spoke about how many thousands visitor arrivals that she wants. I think it was 100,000 at the end of the year, which was at the end of last year. But we have not seen what is the strategy or what is the roadmap for us to achieve this tourist arrival. So again, we are not seeing the things being put in place. We are not seeing the vision. We are not seeing the funding. We are not seeing the resources to achieve the goals that are set out in the budgets and in the estimates.
How do you respond to those that make the comment and would probably put forward? It's not uncommon for budgets to speak of a very lofty hope and expectation. It's almost the equivalence of a political campaign before an election. Politicians give you the very best, and then you kind of hope to meet that objective in some way, form, or fashion, even if there's no clear projection. Is there a fundamental difference happening this time around, or is this following what is a standard pattern?
No, I don't see as a fundamental difference. But what I see is that while this administration was on the other side, particularly some of the players that were on the minority, they had certain comments that they were making throughout a budget statement and throughout a budget period. So again, we have the chief secretary, who is now the Secretary of Finance, on Hansard, indicating we would have done this over and over and over and over again. And there was one particular budget debate where he would have gone through over a number of years and quoted the requests and the allocation. And he would have indicated, since this has been the past precedent, why do you now want to ask for a $4 billion budget when you have seen in the past that we have not received that? And he would have gone on and described so many reasons why we would not get it. Now you are sitting in the chair, then I would anticipate, based on your past utterances, that we should be seeing something different, because you came into office on the mantra that you will fix it. So we don't anticipate to see a continuation of what would have happened in the past. You would have had all the recommendations when you were sitting on the outside. We anticipate now that you have the responsibility, show us and implement what you said that you will do. That's all.
So there's some that believe, and we had the minority leader on before speaking similarly to the budget, and there was some conversations that came up past that, and there's some that have the belief that the Tobago Council of the People's National Movement is not in support of Tobago getting more funds. They're not in support of Tobago being able to advance that development agenda. I want you to bring some clarity to that position when these views are expressed in relation to the concerns regarding this current budget and the expectations.
No, that is not true at all, because remember, it was under the PNM administration that we had the widespread consultation as it relates to the autonomy bill. And then there were all the parties coming together. We saw Mr. Ho Choi Chaz, we saw different persons, the PNM. I think Mr. Ashworth Jack would have started, and then he dropped off somewhere along the way. But we saw parties coming together for the interests of Tobago. We also saw where, based on the recommended bill that is now before the Parliament at committee stage, that the recommended allocation in terms of the lowest tranche would have increased to 6.9 or 6.8%, I think. So again, and that was based on consultation, and that was based on the discussions with the people. So to say that the People's National Movement does not want increased allocation is not an accurate statement. And of course we want increased allocation, because in terms of furthering the development agenda of the island, the PNM wants what is good for Tobago. Yes?
Do you think we can safely wait on or rely on, and it doesn't matter which administration sits in Tobago, can we rely on simply an allocation from central government to really advance the development agenda to where we need things to go in Tobago?
No. One of the things that were attempted under the last administration was to use alternative financing mechanisms. One of them was the whole issue of the bond. We have private-public partnership in the real sense. We also have multilateral agencies. And there is also a need to increase our own income in terms of income from taxes and stuff like that, how we generate that own income of the Tobago House of Assembly. One of the things when I looked in the budget and in the statement, it indicated different forms of financing mechanism. One of them, to me, is quite unrealistic. And the Chief Secretary would have indicated that there were funds that was owing in the past based on what the allocation was versus what was received from the Ministry of Finance. And that was one means of financing the budget. But a question was posed to the Minister of Finance by the independent senator. And basically what the Minister of Finance is saying that in those years, there were significant declines in terms of our revenues, so we had to reduce the overall budget. He also indicated that the likelihood, and Tobago was not the only area that would have suffered a decline in what was proposed in terms of budgetary allocation. And when he compared the cut that was made by Tobago for Tobago versus the cut from other ministries, Tobago was significantly less than the cut from other ministries. So what we are saying is that in this instance, to indicate that monies owing from the Ministry of Finance would form part of the financing mechanism is quite unrealistic, because based on the comments from the Minister of Finance, it is unlikely that we will receive that funding. So again, there are several means of funding the budget. We have to be innovative, we have to be proactive. Right now, we are seeing in the main the allocation from central government, but there are other means of financing the budget. And we just need to be innovative.
All right. Your closing comments before we wrap up this morning.
In the budget statement, a lot of areas were lacking. One, in terms of comparative information, we would have seen no comparative information for the previous year. So the Chief Secretary would have quoted 2022 figures, but what happened in 2021? So there was no information to compare the performance of this administration. The Chief Secretary would have received some allocation in, I guess, 2022. We have not seen how that allocation was utilized. We did not see, or we do not know, what is the recurrent expenditure, what is the development expenditure, how much you spend on CPEP, how much you spend on URP, what is your unspent balance. So all that financial information about what you would have utilized the resources in the year that you were there were clearly missing from the estimates. And we are hoping that going forward, we will see greater accountability and greater transparency as was promised. We would also see that the estimate is anchored on something. But yes, we want to be the greatest little island. But how are we going to be the greatest little island? What is involved in being the greatest little island? We welcome collaboration, but what we are also saying, your posture right now does not augur well for collaboration. And in the estimates, in the budget statement, the Chief Secretary spoke about meaningfully collaborating with the central government. But how you could collaborate when you're customary every Monday morning? So we are just saying, change your action, settle down to governance, come up with an overarching vision that clearly sets out the development agenda of the island, and report to the people. Greater accountability and transparency as you would have promised.
Thank you very much there, Petal Daniel-Benoit, Minority Councillor. A gentle reminder out there calling on this administration to settle down to governance and giving that assurance that the People's National Movement is certainly about more for Tobago, and even that further reminder of they're not opposed to collaboration at all. So we're really looking forward to that kind of commitment that sees at the end of the day, as I'm sure we would all want to see, Tobago being able to derive a maximum benefit within this current relation in the Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you very much, Minority Councillor Petal Daniel-Benoit, for joining us on set this morning. Viewers, we have coming up next in the mix, we're going to be chatting with Dr. Bishnu Raghunath. We look forward to those discussions. All right, quick update in the mix. John Proko We'll be chatting with coming up environmental activists as we speak My Swim from Tobago to Trinidad. All right, and viewers, we remind you at this point that this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live.